All right. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for our fifth installment of our Arts and Health webinar this fall. And it is today we're doing Bridging Creativity and Care, Exploring Drama, Therapy, and Community Theater for Health and Healing. So I'd like to welcome everyone again. I'm the Director of Programs here at California for the Arts. My name is NeFesha Yisra'el, and we are excited to have you with us today. Today, we'll be exploring how creativity and care intersect in powerful ways, shining a light on the role of theater and storytelling in health, healing, and community well being. Before we begin, I'd like to share a special thank you to the Music Man Foundation for their generous support and for their belief in the healing power of the arts and its impact on communities across our beautiful state. Let's go ahead to the next slide and we'll get into some basic logistics before we get into the bulkier media conversation. All right, as our incredible senior program manager Terry Ball put in the chat, please be sure to introduce yourself in the chat, acknowledge the indigenous land where you reside. I forgot to do that. I actually am here in the Central Valley in Fresno, California, and I'm on Yokut's land. And if you'd like, share a link for folks to connect with you and learn more about your work. And this event is being recorded. The recording, the slides, and all resources will be shared with all registrants after this webinar today. We can go ahead to the next slide. Okay, a few guidelines before we get started with our discussion. This is set up like a meeting, so it's important to note that you put your questions in the chat. There's no Q&A feature. It's not a webinar, so make sure you put your questions in the chat. And then please avoid buzzwords and explain references and acronyms. For example, California for the Arts is also often known as CFTA. So I would spell out CA for the Arts or California for the Arts. And lastly, please be respectful of your fellow attendees here today by honoring different perspectives in the chat and during discussion. And we will get to your questions from the chat a little later in the webinar. All right, next slide. All right, a little Zoom tips here. If you need subtitles, you can click the CC button and turn your subtitles on or off by clicking that CC button. You're going to click the little up arrow, and that will allow you to view or adjust your caption settings. Additionally, again, you want to put your questions or comments or even introductions of who you are in the chat. So you'll see that on the bottom bar if you're on a computer. You also see it on your phone. I think it's on the bottom on your phone as well, but it'll say chat and you'll click there and you can communicate with all of the other registrants, attendees. And we can go to the next slide. I think there's a few more for just some Zoom tips. All right. Another one here. This is how you adjust the view. So if you would like to see more of the slide and less of the speaker, or less of the slide and more of the speaker, then you can click at the top right corner. You'll see that view button. So you'll click there and then you'll see options for side-by-side, either speaker, gallery, or multi-speaker. You can utilize that to change and adjust how your Zoom appears on your end. And then you'll hover your cursor on the vertical gray line if you'd like to adjust, again, the size of the speaker or the slide deck. There's a little dash, which you see on the picture to the right, and there's a little gray dash, vertical dash, and you can adjust that back and forth by dragging it. You click and drag to separate the separator marker to the left or right to adjust the size of your view. All right, next slide. A little bit about our organizations, and that is plural because we have two organizations. CA for the Arts is one that is really public facing, and it's one that you probably all see. We are 501c3. That's where we do our statewide programming, services, and advocacy networking. We do things like our Arts and Culture Summit, which is coming up in April, along with Arts Advocacy Day. We're excited to be doing this again. I believe this for the summit, it's the fourth one. And Arts Advocacy Day we've been doing for more years than that. But we're continuing to expand. We've got a great offering. So more to come with that. Registration opens on January 20th. There's a little plug there. California Arts Advocates, which was established in 1996, is our 501c4. And so that allows us to do comprehensive lobbying. So just a little bit about our organizations. And if you want to learn more, go to the links that are presented on the slides, and we'll also share them in the chat throughout the time that we're together today. All right, and we can go to the next slide. All right, and this is my last slide for a little bit. That's our welcome, and we're going to move forward with having Jennifer Kuo, who is our arts and health consultant and has curated this entire series. So thank you, Jennifer, for the work that you've done, and I'll pass the virtual mic over to you.
Thank you so much, NeFesha, and welcome everybody. Great to see you all. So this Bridging Creativity and Care series was created by listening and interacting with a variety of people who work at the intersection of arts and health, as well as from feedback from those curious to learn more. And the 5 webinars in the series offer an introduction to this diverse and evolving field, highlighting how creative arts therapists, teaching artists, and facilitators contribute to individual and community well-being. So the participants, all of you in the audience, will gain a deeper understanding of the different settings, approaches, and goals that shape this work, from clinical environments where licensed creative arts therapists support individuals with specific diagnoses to community-based programs led by artists and cultural practitioners that promote prevention, connection, and resilience. And so at the same time, we recognize that concerns sometimes arise across professions regarding qualifications and roles in leading arts-based workshops for healing. These conversations reflect important concerns, yet they also highlight the need for dialogue, clarity, and collaboration. And with mental health challenges and related issues on the rise, the demand for this kind of work is greater than ever. We believe there is a space for a spectrum of contributions, from preventive and community-based approaches to clinically focused interventions, so that together we can support the full continuum of individual and community health needs. So thank you all for being here today. And now I would like to welcome our first speaker for today, Dr. Mimi Savage, who is a narrative-trained drama therapist, board-certified trainer, expressive arts life career coach, and educator, who develops and teaches both clinical and coaching curricula at California Institute of Integral Studies in San Francisco in the 2 master's programs with concentrations in expressive arts. Amongst other hats that she wears that you can read more about in the website link in the chat, she is also the director of the International School for Drama Therapy called SoCal Drama Therapy Center. Her doctoral research centers on narrative, arts-based inquiry, and the intersections of identity in adopted young women from foster care. She's currently working on writing and editing her book, a first ever collaboration of leading BIPOC creative arts therapists representing all the expressive arts modalities, titled The Future of Black Creative Art Therapists, Practice, Pedagogy, and Preservation. So now let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Mimi Savage.
Hello, hello. Well, it's really wonderful being here. I have a history with Jennifer. I once worked and still do work with Arts and Healing Initiative, which used to be formerly called the UCLA Arts and Healing program, the C program, which I helped actually manualize both of their programs. So this is a language and a world that I truly believe in and have invested in for many, many years. Starting off as a teaching artist, or actually starting off as an actress, a working TV actress, and then teaching artistry happened, and then somehow I found myself in this world of drama therapy. I'm going to actually rely on my slides now to just give you a definition of what in the world is drama therapy. And I see also from the guest list here, I'm going to see if I can see my own slides. The guest list here that there are several thespians in the audience and people who are connected to theater. So I'm very excited. And for those people who are not, I hope that this is material that will inspire you to pursue the creative arts therapies.
And maybe just make sure you can see your slides, correct?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect.
To move my, there we go. So the Drama Therapy Association in America is called the NADTA, the North American Drama Therapy Association, of which I'm a member. I've been on the board. I'm no longer on the board. I was the education chair. If you have any questions about what that is, I'm more than happy to be that person who mentors you. But the association, you can find them online. It's a 46-year-old organization. It seems to be getting a lot of attention these days. I just literally, before coming here, like I said, I'm changing my clothes. I need to get online. Someone called me about a podcast, a global podcast organization that wants just 10 minutes of my time to know more about drama therapy. So that's happening now versus, I'd say, 10 years ago when people were very confused as to what drama therapy is. Um, so let me give you of an outline of where we are, who we are, and how we got here. We're also in an international organization in the sense that drama therapy probably began, a lot of it began in England. So there's an organization called the World Alliance of Drama Therapy that was founded in 2017, though drama therapy has been around, as I said, for more than 46 years. People have been doing this. You don't necessarily need a certification in to do this, right? Using theater for well-being. Um, one of the organizations that kind of puts us all together, all of the creative arts therapies, is the International Expressive Arts Therapy Association. Well, that's actually for expressive arts specifically, but I'm thinking of INCATA, the National Association of the Creative Arts Therapies Association. So we have a way of converging all together, and we have our specific organizations that keep us in line ethically, that we're registered with. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so what in the world is drama therapy? So many people find drama therapy in a circuitous way, as I did. Drama therapy is the therapeutic and intentional use of dramatic processes such as storytelling, role play, improvisation to facilitate personal growth, enhance self-worth, instill more appropriate behaviors. I saw somewhere in the chat that someone is going to be using ABA work and getting certified in that. And I see the Marin County, the Shakespeare Company, of which the pretty renowned group of folks that use theater, and it is therapeutic in the way that they use theater. It also is functions to improve functioning. That's physical, somatic, emotional, psychological, and reinforces proactive choices in a safe and flexible environment. That's it. In a nutshell, it's an intentional use of the therapeutic, of the theater arts. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. I'm very audio sensitive because people are outside of my home drilling and sanding our shingles for painting. So I've tried every room in the house to have quietude, but so I'm going to be a little bit, I'm listening to myself, and please excuse me if I'm uh, tripping on my own words. But drama therapy also is the father of drama therapy, or psychodrama, is Jacob Moreno, and that's where we have our foundation in psychodrama. And I know that word sometimes scares people, psychodrama, ooh, but it is actually a very protected way of working with folks through the use of theater. And there's several methods to our modality of drama therapy. And there's also now so much empirical research, I'm a researcher, to back up the impact of what it is that we do in several populations, with several populations. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so the populations in which I've worked in are educational. I mentioned I was a teaching artist, and as I was working in schools, I had my own classroom where students came to me in as a class. And also I've worked in acute settings. It's actually mostly only acute settings. Neurodivergence and typical and developmental delays in elementary teens and young adults. That's an milieu that I've worked in a lot. Acute psychiatric units, that's where I actually worked for several years full time, creating drama therapy and expressive arts in the children's unit and the adult units. So all ages. It's a great place to learn. It's not for everyone. to learn about how to use the arts for well-being, and also how to work with people in teams. Residential treatment, self-harm. I see, thank you. I see the hearts. Yeah, you know the world. Residential treatment, working with teens for self-harm, addiction, eating disorders, and then also unhoused women on Skid Row. Everyone on Skid Row is trauma ridden, and there's mental illness, obviously. So those would have been my populations. That's not necessarily typical for everyone, but those are the populations which I blossomed into a drama therapist. Next slide, please. Okay, so I gave you a little bit of my background about how I found drama therapy, or it found me. I was a comp lit major. I went to Princeton, French modern drama, theater and dance was my minor, or what they offer you there as a certificate. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be an actress. So I ended up at the Neighborhood Playhouse in New York. I studied there and graduated from there when Sandy Meisner was alive. That's how old I am. Also, then I went to Cal State LA. Now, it wasn't a direct hit. There was a lot of life in between, where my focus was really about theater arts, social justice, and teaching artistry. That was what was happening at the time. And the riots occurred in LA, and that really created a shift for me about, am I going to talk the talk, walk the walk, or where am I here in social justice? How am I landing in this environment with what's going on sociopolitically? So I decided to become a registered drama therapist. I learned about it at Cal State LA through someone there who became my teacher. And then eventually, after working in many schools and then landing in a psychiatric unit to introduce drama therapy, I decided to get my PhD in expressive arts therapy. And that was a very clinical type of PhD using the expressive arts. And what I focused on was foster care. Because in the psych unit, as many of you know, there's the pipeline of foster care to the prison system. And I was very curious about that. And then I was very curious about how there wasn't a lot of research on young girls and women. So that's where I landed with my PhD. And I am a board certified trainer. If you want to know more information about that, you can always reach out to me. And yeah, I think the rest is, I seem to have always have been part of community activism. There's a film called Game Girls that you can find online. That's when I was working with women on Skid Row and an open door policy. Also, way back when, during the uprising, the riots, a film called 112th and Central Through the Eyes of the Children. I was one of the artists there who worked with the children in telling their stories, and the Virginia Avenue Project, and eventually working with PS Arts. So, and LA's Best. So those are probably for those of you in Los Angeles, uh, organizations that sound very familiar to you. And now I'm a professor, an associate professor at CIIS in San Francisco. So those of you that are from the Bay Area know the school. It's a progressive environment, and I teach in those programs. And we just started a coaching program that has to do with expressive arts that is centered and uses expressive arts. Okay, next slide. I want to get to the activity soon. Oh, what would it look like in a psych unit? I forgot about this. I was very blessed to have a room of my own. Thank you, Virginia Woolf. Here it is. And it's very intentional. Those are not just carpets that are placed randomly. The children were medicated, and so they had their islands for when they couldn't be in a group circle. It's vibrant, and the primary colors are intentional. There's a lot of tools in there, and actually the room was sectioned off intentionally for embodiment work, projective work, and role play work. And their artwork would be displayed not only here, but you'll see another slide where they're there. And there's a puppet um, stage there for them, a couple of them actually, and many, many toys all organized in the room. Next slide, please. Okay, so in all sorts of tools that, because I'm narrative trained in a projective way of not hitting the nail on the head, like tell me about your trauma to a 5-year-old. or a 12-year-old. This was a room for 5 to 12-year-olds. There, like I said, many, many tools so that they could tell their story and be buffered from the trauma. Sand tray work is something that I use a lot while still using role play and embodied ways of working with improvisation, masks, etc. Okay, next slide. Yeah, a little bit more of what that looks like. Embodiment, when I say that, is the beginning of how we play via sensory and exploration. Projection work is what theater is all about. We're projecting onto things, feelings, thoughts projected onto toys, media, art, music, imagined experiences. So it's symbolic play. And then role play, that's what we do as actors. Role taking, giving form and meaning to our behavior, social understanding, perspective. Role reversal is about perspective, being in somebody else's shoes and understanding, what that's about, how that feels in the body. All right, next slide. Yeah, this is an example of working with a child who, through symbolism and chalk, and outdoor play and role play, and again, projecting the images as pirates. We were both pirates, and this child was sexualized and, you know, uh, very much traumatized from the sexual abuse. And we worked together in getting the story out because it's an internal situation. And so how do we do that safely for a child, for anyone, for an adult? And next slide. Yeah. Again, some examples of the work using art, using clay, and getting into an embodied way of working through role play. And next slide. Yeah, so I work in a very multimodal way. I mean, theater is everything. We embrace all the arts, right? Movement, dance, art, painting, you name it. That's the theater is is the place for all of that. But also community engagement in public spaces was something that I believed in and still do. That's where the activism comes in, and even in spaces where it's very systemized like a hospital system. I made certain that there was engagement with the public in the hallways where they could actually read about what was happening and also engage. There was probably, you can't see here, but a pen and pencil always attached to a bulletin board, and also galleries of what was happening up in the locked units with the children and also sometimes the adults, also always anonymous. Okay, next slide. All right, that's how you can reach me. That's the NADTA. I'm going to go just segue right into an activity. Um, and if you want to know more about drama therapy, please don't hesitate. You know where the website is, and you can always reach me. So we're coming from many different places. Um, it's quiet now in my environment, so I'm very happy. I don't hear the drilling. And I can focus a little bit more, and I'm going to just give us a little warm up into and a warming in to becoming more present. And so we can do a second activity. And I want to ask the monitor, do I have about 10 minutes now?
You have like 16 minutes.
Oh,
That's the
fantastic.
time from your presentation.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. That's even better. Okay. So I'm going to invite you to get a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, whatever floats your boat, whatever makes you happy. And we're going to use both sides of that piece of paper. On the one side, to begin with, we're going to make a small box, probably like half the size of your cell phone. That didn't parlay in this visual world that I'm in now. So definitely half the size, if not maybe even a third of the size. Okay. Once that's done, I'm going to ask you, please, to find a comfortable way of sitting in your chair, supporting your spine, right? Feeling really comfortable, not slouching over, just really relaxed, right? And I'm going to ask you to please take a deep breath, but let's count that breath, right? We're not going to do box breathing at this point, but something similar to it, in which I'm going to ask you to just take inhale, controlling the breath, controlling the mind. Inhale for 6 counts. If you want to close your eyes, you can, and hold for 2 counts. And then exhale slowly but surely for those 6 counts. So not letting that air just release like a air in a balloon, but controlling that breath. Let's try that again. Inhaling. If you can do 8 counts, more power to you. And hold for 4 counts. Exhale for those 8 or 6 counts. And it's important to do this breath work before we do this exercise. You'll see why. Inhale again. Holding the breath, and when you exhale this time, just let out a sound, any sound. It's not a pretty sound. Okay, so that piece of paper now is in front of you, and you have that writing tool in your hand. And I'm going to put my timer on. And what I'm asking you to do is to, when I give you the cue, is to scribble, fill in that box that you made, that outline on the interior of that box, to fill it in as quickly as you can. This is a very quick motion of really filling in that box. And I will give you 20 seconds to do it. And then when I say stop, please stop, take a breath, inhale and exhale, and then I'll give you the next direction. So let's take a breath right now in readiness for this exercise. And I'll say action. Now, filling in that box as quickly as you can. It is a bit frenetic. Go for it. Fill it in, fill it in, fill it in as fast as you can. Let's make that space opaque and stop. Let it go. No more. All right, let's take a breath. Exhale. Now let's flip that paper over. Let's draw that box on the other side, the same size. Great. So we know to make that figure 8. It's the, what is that? The
Infinity.
Thank you, infinity. You know what I'm saying. All right, so we're going to give ourselves another 20 seconds to slowly, and while we're doing mindfully following our pens or pencils to make the infinity mark, just take your time. And if you think you're going too, just slow it down. If you think you're going too fast, be mindful of it. Okay, and take a deep breath. Release the breath and fill in the space now. Slow it down. Breathe. Be mindful of your breath. And stop. Take a breath. Release the breath and flip over the page. And when I say begin, let's go back to filling in that box as quickly as you can and begin. Fill it in, fill it in. We don't want any of those white spaces. and stop. Take a breath. Release the breath. Flip over the page. And now the figure eight. Begin. Slow it down. Breathe. Be mindful if you're holding your breath. Slow. Careful. Stop. Deep breath. A cleansing breath. Next breath, we're just going to release a sound, any kind of a sound. Ah, you get to hear my sound. Okay. Don't fix yourselves. Don't do anything. Let's just process a little bit of this in the chat. Feeling what you feel, sensing what you sense. What is going on with you with that exercise? Just place it in the chat. And just a couple of people, if you want to share what's happening to you in your body right now, I welcome that. I invite that. And we'll only have time for a couple of people. And the rest, please share what's maybe nothing. Maybe nothing happened. Maybe you sensed the difference between one side of the paper, the other in your body. I don't know. But let's tension release. I see tension release. I feel some tingling and relaxing feeling. Yes. Anyone want a lots of releasing. Yeah, let's see, what else have we got here? Yep. Norma Bowles. Well, hello, Norma Bowles. Long time no see. Freedom from mind. Feels good to see marks on the paper. Good reminder to go from feeling, hold on, frenzied to taking time to slow down. I noticed that after furiously trying to fill in the box and on the other side with the infinity, I had to really slow down. So that powerful shift between fast and slow sort of made me feel floating. Anything else? I like the feeling of my pen gliding on the paper. Yeah. I felt nervous to calm. I put the infinity symbol inside the box, chaos versus peace. Nice contrast. Tough to focus on slowing down. I know in the world that we live in, with all the things that are happening around us constantly, you know, drilling outside of my door, the news, the phone, all of those things. I put the infinity symbol inside the box. Yes, eights were more intentional. Right. Interesting about that. A little bit of a buzzing feeling, a natural high. Yeah, floaty too, anxiety about whether or not I'm doing the exercise correctly and my pen running out of ink. Yes, and that is an interesting thing um, to understand about what's happening with ourselves. Like, I'm feeling anxious around this. So, check. This is an assessment about what's happening with me right now. It's not a good or bad thing. It's not about polarities here. It's about what is happening to me that I'm actually now needing to take more breaths, perhaps keep doing this exercise. You could do this exercise for more than the 4 times that we did it until you're feeling that you're really letting go, releasing the tension. Or maybe it'll tell you to, this exercise will allow you to do another exercise, a mindful exercise to release the tension that you're feeling, right? As an assessment. What's going on with me? Because it's all locked in, it's internalized, right? So now we're externalizing it. We can see it on the page in some ways. Like I wasn't able to do the scribble part. It was making me feel really anxious. What is that telling me? Or what is it telling your clients? What is it telling you about the milieu if you're going to implement this with other people? So it's not a good or bad thing. It's definitely an assessment. It's also a way of relaxing if it works for you. Anxiety about whether or not, yes. And then what else? Yes. Okay. So
Also, maybe real quick, we have about 5 more minutes, and Catherine has her hand up. So I'm thinking, Catherine, we invite you to share a brief reflection. You can go ahead and unmute your mic.
hi,
Hi.
Kat. Hi.
I think the thing that I wanted to share was I'll show my page. I
Right.
hope I did it right. The thing that I find interesting is on the other side of the paper, like inside the box, like there's a bit of a texture of like how hard I was pushing down. And like I did the box in the same space to try to make it the same size. But I just think that that's like an interesting takeaway is that like on the calm side, the like hurried, frantic, high pressure kind of shows through still. But yeah,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah, some metaphors going on in there, right? Yeah. And symbolism. So thank you for sharing that, Catherine. I'm going to do this exercise because, like, okay, so that was a mindfulness thing. Of course, as people in theater, we use our instruments are our bodies. So if we don't have that checked and if we don't work with that, then we don't have the instrument, right? So this is why this is important to figure out what's going on in my body, to relax my body, to tune in into my body, to tone up my body, so that I can do it. I can breathe. Can I breathe those 8 counts? Can I actually do that? And I'm connecting to my breath, right? So all of those things are important as actors or using theater, right? So I'm going to I'm going to ask you to please imagine, and you might have an empty chair in your space right now. Maybe you can see an empty chair. I can see an empty chair, right? Yeah. So if you don't have an empty chair, Richard's like, no, I don't have one. But imagine one or find somewhere else that's someone that you know that brings you pleasure, that affirms your existence. Someone kind that you know would be sitting in the room with you. Where would you place them? It can be an empty chair, it could be anywhere where you can place them near you, right? And these are people who support you. This is a person. Find that person, that one person that supports you, right? Who's got your back today. And when you find that person, I'm going to ask you to just close your eyes. And we're in a place now where we can imagine, right? There is no play without imagination, right? We need that. And sometimes we have clients who can't go there. So that's where the mindfulness and all the improvisation is really going to help them. But here we are today in this space, in this box. I want you to imagine that person in that chair or in that spot, and they're saying something to you, something that you need to hear today. So listen, really listen. What is it that you need to hear? And let them say that to you, that person who believes you, who's got your back. Hear it, listen to it. And once you hear it, if it's not too personal, you can place it in the chat. Let's hear those affirmations, right? What is it that that person's saying to you? You know that person. They have a name. It might even be another entity, a dog, a cat, a loving entity. That's okay. And if you don't have a specific person, make one up. The ideal person who has your back. Yeah. And I'm seeing in the chat, you're worthy. You got this. You're doing great. Trust your skills. Peaceful. Yeah. Let that person speak to you. That person is making you feel good in this moment. Your intuition, oh my goodness. Yes, these wonderful affirmations from these people who love you. I will be by your side. You're magic, and so is your creativity. Slow your response. Yeah. And there'll be humor. All of it. Okay, so you've heard this person, and now I'm going to ask you to role reverse. So now you're sitting in that chair, and that person is looking at you. They know who you are, you know who they are. And perhaps now in response, you're going to say something back to them. They need to hear because they gave you all of this richness. So take your time, breathe. I find myself holding my breath even in leading this exercise. When we breathe, all of this comes to us, right? The emotion, the depth of what it is that we're really hearing and what we want to say, it comes to us. And with it, often emotion. What do you want to say to this person? What do they need to hear in response? And you can place that in the chat or not. but allow yourself to say it. Give you about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to ask you, please, to tap away and de-roll. Let it all go. Take a breath. Yes, yes, Sheila. Yes. That may seem like a silly thing, but sometimes we hold on to these people and these feelings, and we don't need to. Okay. So if we have thank you for taking the time to share this space with me. Absolutely. Okay, that's what you're saying. Absolutely. In response, you're more than your mistakes. I forgive you. I still love you. Thank you for all that you do. I'm okay. I'm so, so sorry. Start to put yourself first sometimes. I'm reading and sensing that the people that you brought into this space today, that you brought into your space today, that this is very meaningful, that these are people who really know you. And I think that's a wonderful thing that we were able to capture together here. Um, Jennifer, if we could just have one person or let's process this in the chat, and then one person may want to speak out about how this worked out for them. You can even share in the chat, is this something that's useful to you? Is there something you can do with with the people that you work with? Just from any perspective about the empty chair exercise that, by the way, a lot of CBT therapists use. Jacob Moreno introduced it. It's done in, forum theater. So Wall understood it. And so, yeah, anything of that nature. Anyone want to share so that other people can hear?
Invite someone to share about 30 seconds, and then everyone else we might get to share in the chat.
Yep.
Okay, I don't see any hands.
Okay. Oh, I see Cynthia McGonigal.
Garrity.
McGarity. Wow, that's a lot of
It's a mouthful,
a
isn't
lot of
it?
Scottish folks in there.
I think I have a wonder about it because the students that I work with are in my career right now primarily uh, have disabilities, and a lot of them have autism spectrum disorder, or, things that can sometimes have a barrier to imagination in some ways.
Right.
And again, every student is different, but I love this empty chair exercise, and I brought my sister in, and I wonder, is there a workaround for students who might have um, a lack of ability to really not understand things that are not concrete, if that
Yes.
makes sense?
Absolutely, there is. And the quick answer, and we can talk about this more at some other point if you want to reach out to me, but the quick answer is, especially with not being able to read behavior, right, as well, right, with people on the spectrum, depending on where they are on the spectrum, is, those face cards that you have, those that are feeling cards, they sell wonderful big ones and small ones. But to actually place that literally in a space so that I can see that. And that's a way of learning about feelings, learning about what is it that I see? What is the feeling that I see? Because I can't quite get it. And so literally, practically placing that card in a place. And I have a box full of them. I haven't used them in years because I don't work with that population, but I love teaching about it. And then I can talk to that and they can talk back to me in it's a mechanical way of working, but yes, and thespians. It's slow it down, right? And the expectations are simpler, but yes, there's a way of using those cards. And if you don't have cards and don't invest in them, you can draw faces. But I think you know the cards that I'm
Yeah,
talking.
totally do. And that's a great solution. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay. And in the chat, we have responses so we can all read each other's responses. And I want to hand it over to Jen. I want to thank you all for playing. Yes, and it was wonderful to see all these faces, and some are familiar and learning from you as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mimi. That was such an excellent experience. Thank you for your presentation, as well, along with that, just imagining exercise with the empty chair. That's something that I will definitely carry with me into the far into the future. So thank you. If you want to give it up for Dr. Mimi, you can put some claps in the chat or in your reactions. We're going to move forward with our next speaker, who is Richard Loya, who is a first generation Mexican American born in East Los Angeles, but raised in South Central LA. He is the second son of four siblings, all of whom have immigrant parents. And Richard married his high school sweetheart. Shout out to that. It's beautiful. Recently purchased his first new car and has two dogs. At the age of 16, Richard was tried as an adult and sentenced to serve 27 years to life, plus 5 years at the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. After spending nearly 30 years incarcerated, Richard says it was there that he learned of the arts in corrections. When referring to Rich, folks have said, you won't meet a cooler, calmer, grounded, and collective fellow. Richard shares that that wasn't the case before joining the Actors Gang and says, theater saved my life. Thank you and welcome, Richard, to our space. And I'm going to pass the microphone over to you.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Um, oh my gosh, Mimi, I want to thank you. Hearing you speak on how you attack the trauma existing in the population that you meet just reminded me of the world that we serve and how that doesn't exist in there. And I'll get to that because my heart went out to the men and women that we visit and check in with and teach theater now. And so thank you for that, Mimi. I know it's being recorded and I'm gonna get to share this with my colleagues later on. Yeah, so my name is Richard Loya. Everyone knows me as Rich. I want to thank y'all for taking the time. You know, it's a afternoon out of your day and wanting to spend it here with us, right? This afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. I see up north, Northern California, um, different states, Arizona, I even saw Mexico. So different countries, different time zones. Thank you for your time um, here today with us. Buenos dias, buenas tardes a todos. Trust me when I tell you that this is an honor for me. When Jennifer first reached out to us, I work with the Actors Gang, the prison project. When Jennifer first reached out, I was on the road coming back from a prison trip, and so I couldn't answer the email. And then for sure, I wanted to be involved and to do this with y'all and be here and share. And then I lost track of days and I never got back to her. And so I remember my director of program is like, hey, Rich, did you see that email from John? I'm like, yes, 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 yes. So then I replied and so here I am. Um, as you heard, 30 years of incarceration. I was 16 years old in 1988. I was tried as an adult, 27 years to life plus 5 years. I didn't know what that meant. I later found out that I had to do the 5 years first and then start my life sentence. So at 16, I was involved in a gang, selling drugs, living that lifestyle, and I ended up murdering this person. I want to say his name to honor, but I'd rather not hear. And I was sent away for the crime that I committed. Being tried as an adult, I didn't know what that meant for me in my future. Again, later I found out that I was going to spend the rest of my life in prison. We had two governors in the 90s. I feel like most of y'all will remember Pete Wilson and Gray Davis. And they're out on, you know, on news conferences and in videos saying, for those of you who took a life, and remember, this is in the mid 90s when the three strikes law came into effect. And so they're really hard on crime. And it was said by the governors, if you took a life, don't even think about it. You're going home in the box. So in my 20s, middle, late 20s, the reality of spending the rest of my life in prison took over. It took over who I was, who I had became. You see, because prior to going away at 16, I was being scouted by professional baseball teams to play baseball. And so I joined a gang I was 15 and a half, maybe. And in 6 months, I committed the crime, and now I'm in juvenile hall with the life sentence. I remember at 18 years old, as soon as the day of my birthday, at 5:30 in the morning, the sheriffs were there at juvenile hall to pick me up and took me to the county jail because now I was an adult. And I had never been so scared in my life. The fear set in, and I just knew that my life was going to end there, I thought. That's how afraid I was. But I don't know, an ounce of me decided you have to be tough, act tough. And I wasn't that. I was a sports kid growing up. I had been playing t-ball since I was 6 years old. So for 9 years almost, I was involved in playing baseball. And so you heard, I was born in East LA, but raised in South Central. In South Central in the late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s, it was black and brown. That was it. It was black and brown, and uh, it wasn't why you joined a gang. It was what gang are you going to join? And so, but still being involved in playing sports and being at the park for most of my time, I was wearing red one time because my team colors were red, and I came out of a liquor store and I was jumped. I was jumped for wearing. I had pitched the day before we won, so I was like on a high and representing my team colors, and I was jumped and like beat pretty bad. And I knew what it was. It was because I was wearing red in a predominantly Crip neighborhood. Crip is the black um gang where I grew up, and this wasn't happening to my childhood friends who were already in the gang. And so when it happened again, this time being shot at again within those 6 months, this is when I decided I'm going to join a gang because my thought process is not happening to my childhood friends because they're a group, they're a gang, they're tight, they got protection. So I joined the gang, and 6 months later, I committed the crime. Being in the county jail, I talked about the fear that I felt, but it was around holiday season. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holidays, New Year's, I was sad, like dying sad, being away from my family at 18 years old, but I couldn't show it. That the fear and the sadness that I felt, I understood these are signs of weakness because I saw men prey on young men and do things, and I was hearing things in the county jail that I didn't want to happen to me. And so I said, Rich, you to survive out of here, you better be tough, man. You better man up. To this day, I know that these wrinkles, the frowns on my forehead that I carry like this is because this is what I had to do to keep people away from me so they wouldn't prey on me. And that look still stays with me, but it's not who I am. It's who I had to become to survive. And so fast forward 28 years from 1988, I meet a theater company. As a lifer, we have to go in front of the parole board. There are commissioners assigned by the governor who have these 4-hour hearings for us, and they decide whether or not we're ready to return to society. I had to go 5 times and I kept getting denied. Nope, we don't think you're ready. Go back 4 years. Nope, you're not addressing this. 5-year denial. 5 times I had to go. Nothing was working for me. I did every self-help programming, NA, doing what I'm supposed to do, jumping through all these hoops, and nothing was helping me reconnect with Richie. See, Richie was the 15-year-old before he joined the gang and committed the crime. Richie was the all-star baseball player that was being scouted by Mike Brito. If some of you know, Mike Brito was the Dodger scout. He was a Cuban he always had the Cuban hat with the radar gun in the back of the Dodger games. And so Richie had long been lost because, again, I had to survive 30 years in prison being something I wasn't. And in my 28th year, the actors gang came in, and I have to tell you because you have to hear this part of the story. So I'm in the process of change now. Like, I'm doing everything I need to do. Please, Jennifer, if I'm going long, cut me out because we're going to get to this video that we're about to watch. I am in the process of my change. So I'm like disassociating myself from certain people and lifestyle and the stuff that goes on in prison that will easily get you caught up. But I knew, okay, what are the repercussions of me stepping away from this? Whatever it was, I accepted it because I wanted to come home. I was still blessed to come home, and both of my parents are still alive. So I thank God for that because I saw so many men lose their loved ones, and it was difficult to see them go through that. And so in the process of my change, I remember my boss comes up to me. My boss was a lieutenant, and he says, "Hey, there's a new group coming in that wants to run program here. They're called the Actors Gang." I'm like, "The who? The gang." The gang caught my attention. The Actors Gang. I'm like, "Okay, what is it about?" He's like, I don't know. It's Tim Robbins and the gang. They're gonna come in and teach you guys. Teach us what? I don't know. Teach you how to act. I recognize the name. So Tim Robbins is our artistic director. Y'all know Tim Robbins from Shawshank Redemption, um, and other movies, Bull Durham. Um, so I'm like, okay, cool. Tim Robbins, some actors. I'm thinking Danny Trejo might come through. These other actors that we've been seeing in Hollywood doing movies, and it wasn't that. It wasn't that. And so he says, get a list together of 24 other inmates along with you. So we need 25 people on this list. And so I said, okay, remember I said I was in the process of change. So I knew a good group of guys that were in the same choices now, bettering themselves to go home. And so I said, okay, Lieutenant, I know who to pick. These guys are good guys. They're making good changes in their lives. And he tells me, no. Why is it that the same group of guys get the good groups? He tells me, no, I don't want that group. In fact, he tells me, bring me the screw-ups. He didn't use that word, but he said, bring me the screw-ups. I know you know who they are. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. He goes, I'm telling you, bring me this group. Get 24, 25 of you, have the list for me by tomorrow. I'm like, are you serious, Lieutenant? He goes, yes. I'm like, all right. So I knew I have to put my disclaimer in real quick, because I'm like, all right, Lieutenant, I'm gonna do it, but if something happens, it's not on me. I'm gonna get you the list of these guys. He goes, just put it together, bring it to me tomorrow. So now I'm like, all right, Rich, you cannot play the favoritism. You can't play the homie card. Like, I knew a lot of my homies that it would help them, but is it gonna make real change and help change that culture on the yard? So to be honest with what I was being asked to do and myself, I knew that I had to be fair and be across the table. So what that meant is I had to go to every race, black, white, um, the Mexican, the nationals, which are the undocumented immigrants, the others that it's messed up and sad, but this is what they're labeled. The others are Asian, Samoan, Filipino. That's all it is in prison. There's black, white, Hispanics, and others. And so I'm like, okay, how am I going to get the blacks and the whites? So I knew that I had to go to those two factions first. So I went to the whites because I knew the whites were going to be the more challenging. So I went to go talk to, and y'all have to know, when you're going to go talk to a certain race, you just go talk to the ones with the juice, like the ones that are the shot callers, or that pretty much everyone looks up to in their ethnicity. And so I went to the white guys and I'm like, hey man, can I talk to you? This is what's going on. And all I can give them was the same thing Lieutenant gave me. They're like, all right, what is it about, Rich? I'm like, Tim Robbins and some actors are gonna come in and teach us how to act. All right, but what is it about? I'm like, I can't tell you. And what I noticed, the question being asked back to me was, are you doing it? I'm like, yes, I'm gonna do it. That's why I'm asking you guys. But I have to tell you, I am gonna ask the blacks. I am gonna ask the northerners and the southerners and the others. I'm gonna ask everybody, because this has to be fair for everybody. And so the white guys did it. They said they will get back to me. I'm like, that's good enough for me. I just need to know by this evening. So then I went to the blacks, and almost the same, the question was asked, but the same conversation. Who is it? What is it about? Are you doing it? Yes, that's why I'm telling you. I'm waiting for the whites to let me know that they're going to do it. The blacks said they would do it. Like, okay, cool. I went to the others. The others were on board. I went to the northerners. The northern Hispanics are enemies of the southern Hispanics. Northerners were concerned, are the southerners going to do it? If the southerners do it, then we'll see. Make that part of the story short, everyone agreed to it. And that's kind of like, that doesn't happen. All races agreed to it. So now I got 25 names. So next day I went to Lieutenant. I'm like, here you go, Lieutenant. And the lieutenant's reaction was priceless, because he's like, by name, he's like, he signed up. You got him to sign up. I'm like, that's what you asked for. Like, they're gonna do it. And he signed up. He couldn't believe it. So we did. We got 25 men to sign up for the class. And it's the day that the actors gang is coming in. We're in the gym in a circle, a perfect big circle, sitting down, and it's announced, oh, they're here. The actors gang are here. We turn around and we see three white people and a black woman come in. No Tim Robbins, no Danny Trejo, no actors that I recognized. It was three white people and a black woman. Later, we found out she was from England. So an English woman and the three white folks came in, and this is the class that we're going to be taking. So the guys were looking at me like, Rich, what is this? Like, I'm like, let's just give it a chance. 7 days they spent with us. It was a 7-day intensive. It was a 7-day workshop, an intensive of a highly intense style of theater that dealt with 4 basic emotions: happy, angry, sad, and afraid. And for most of us who had become hardened at heart, emotionless, these were some of the reasons why the parole board was denying me and a lot of us, because we weren't connected with our humanity. Remember, Richie was gone 3 decades ago. And so the 7 day that we shared together as a brotherhood, we saw the chipping away at the hardness. We saw tears. We saw emotions that we didn't know existed in each other, in ourselves. And so by the third, I knew this is working for me. I related it to going to a visit and how tired I would come back from visit, because at visit, I'm really focused and listening to real conversation with my parents, like real life situations. In prison, there is no real conversation. There's no depth, there's no feeling, there's no emotion connected to any of the conversations. Those 7 days, every time I went back to my cell, I felt so drained because we were tapping into those emotions. And so where are we in time, Jennifer? Because I know we want to get to the video.
Yeah, I think it's a good transition to
Yeah.
get to the video as you're talking about it, and then we can revisit how many more minutes we have for the activity.
Okay, perfect. And so this video that we're about to see are about men who have recently come home and they attend our class. It's set up the same way we run class inside, but they are in MCRP. They're in transition home. They're at Health Right 360 in downtown LA. Some of these guys just got out 2 weeks ago, some 3 months ago, but we're there every Thursday to teach the class. And so, Jennifer, if you want to just kick it on, this is what we're going to watch. It's about a 5-minute video.
The Actors Gang is a local theater troupe that runs a program called the Prison Project. It brings theater into California prisons as a form of rehabilitation. Here in MacArthur Park, they're using the techniques of classic Italian commedia dell'arte to help incarcerated people re-enter life on the outside.
You guys want to try out this new program? You're more than welcome. The Actors Gang. So as always, the ask is, what can I do to make a better circle? Right? Who's here nervous? Right? I feel it too, we feel it. Feeling nervous means you're alive, right? You're feeling something instead of feeling nothing. I was 16 when I committed my crime. I ended up doing 30 years inside. Being a lifer coming in young, you can't show emotions, specifically showing that you're afraid or sad. And there's not a lot of joyful moments. Learning how to control and channel emotions is the #1 tool that I learned, and it helped me come home.
We can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we react, you know? So I just learned to take accountability on a whole bunch of things that happen. And I had to stop pointing the finger at everybody else and started to deal with myself. I'm just saying.
Why don't we do some fireworks, yeah?
In 2008, there wasn't a lot of funding in the state of California for any arts programming. So when we showed up for the first time as artists, like, we're gonna teach you this thing, we're gonna play these games, everybody was just like, what? And then you start playing with folks, you start introducing art, it just breaks down all the barriers. Everybody's having fun. It takes you back to being a kid.
Boom!
And then you start asking the question of, like, how many of you have had arts programming in your youth? And no hands go up. We don't ask so much anymore because it became clear as we were learning, it's like, oh yeah, this is like a piece that's missing. It's powerful to watch folks navigate that.
All right. We're gonna move on to the next one, all right? Here we go. Petey, what's the corner? When we create this space where they find themselves between the black, between the Hispanic, between the white, they're a brotherhood now who get along really well. And we hear from the staff how much now they see the house changes because there's relationships now as compared to just being strangers. Because unfortunately inside, we're programmed that way. All that was said, right? Let's try to carry that to the next exercises. So we're gonna suit up, grab some costumes, and then get half up and half down. Let's go. We're all gonna take a breath. Let's take a breath. At the sound of the drum, you'll open your eyes and just simply walk as you, okay? Don't worry about the character yet. Your normal daily walk.
Think about what makes this character sad. Just a tiny nose, tiny nose.
One person. Next.
So we take commedia dell'arte, this form of Italian theater from the 1600s, and essentially teach it as a form of therapy.
And freeze.
We just play in 4 states: happiness, sadness, fear, and anger.
And everybody pass the food to Eddie.
And someone else.
Good. And a sound. Good. All right. And everybody go.
The idea is this works like a Trojan horse, and before they know it, we start to introduce this deeper emotional work, and it's all framed through these stock characters in the commedia.
Yeah. And tell us who you are again.
I am Capitino.
Good. All right, Capitino. Your name changed for some reason.
Capitano.
Capitano. All right.
Before Actors Gang, I was kind of like in a box from being locked down for so long, and then going through the program and playing the games and getting to act out all these emotions, it made me open up and have a craving for life now.
We do these culminations each year where we invite family members to come and watch. And I mean, the amount of times I've heard from a parent that they're seeing their son for the first time or seeing their son for the first time in a long time because of the shells that, you know, we see put up as folks navigate the prison system.
For me, help reconnect me with humanity. It wasn't something that I thought I'd be doing, but it's the reason why I'm home. And so I am 100% believer that the work works.
The hard work and commitment you have shown is a tribute to your resilience and desire to create value in your life and to have a positive effect on society.
I think the last study we did, 77% of the folks who come through the class end up getting employed through reentry.
It's crazy because I just asked them earlier that I was interested into becoming a member of the group. I like what they're doing, you know, trying to bring positivity. Yeah, I'm that type of person, you know. I like seeing people laughing. I like seeing people in a good mood, no matter where they at. Let them know like there's always hope.
Thank you, Rich, for sharing that video with us. And it's a great example of the work that you're all doing at the Actors Gang. And I don't feel like I'm talking to Rich anymore. I feel like I'm talking to somebody else. So I'll let you take it away for maybe quick abbreviated version, maybe like 5 minutes. Is that doable for you all? Yeah. So everyone just kind of grab any props you have around you. And I'll hand it back over to you, Rich.
Are we waiting for Rich still? Rich, are you gonna join us, Rich? No. Thank you, Jennifer. So there you are. The work, it freed me, and it allowed me to be me again. And I've reconnected with these emotions that I had long lost ago. And not just me. So the 25 of those men that I spoke on earlier, 24 of us are home. 11 were ex-lifers. 9 of us are working with the Actors Gang. We're all teaching artists, program managers. We go back inside and teach and pay it back, right? Give it back, because we know, we understand what it is, and to have people that come in from the outside and give them this new world of creativity and imagination, and you get to play and be yourself by using these characters. And I know I didn't get into it, but I saw you put in the chat, Jennifer, thank you. Yes, it's the Commedia dell'arte style that we play in. It's 14 characters that we introduce the participants, and they get to choose what character they're going to play that day that they're running the class. And so they use these characters I used it as a buffer, almost as a filter, to play the 4 basic emotions. And there is no script. all we ask is that for you to be on stage, you come out happy, angry, sad, and afraid, and we're just gonna play. So with that being said, you know it's challenging, and this isn't for everybody. But my neighbors see me like this, and they're like, and they'll call my wife and like, "Was that your husband?" Like, because sometimes I'll walk out and I still have an image when we were doing Zooms, and I have the dogs. I have to walk the dogs, and the neighbors see me, and they're like, "What is?" They think I'm crazy, right? I I am. 30 years, I am in a way, but good crazy. So, if anyone who has their camera on and is willing to go on this 1 minute journey with me, sorry, it's going to be so quick. Just get as close as you can, as comfortable as you are to the camera. Thank you. I see those coming in. And just find a set of eyes. What that means is look into the camera. It doesn't matter, right? We're not looking at one person. Look into the camera, and someone is going to receive what you are giving. And whatever emotion of the four that we've been talking about, happy, angry, sad, or afraid, I invite you to close your eyes. We're going to take a deep breath. And why don't we, when we open our eyes, we're all in joy. I'm going to give it a count to 3. We'll open our eyes and just be in joy. Here we go. Let's take a deep breath. 1, 2, and open. Yes. Yeah, maybe a sound. Yes. A sound. A gesture with the sound. Oh, love it. I love it. I love these. I love these. Yes. And now I invite you to close your eyes. Thank you all. And this is the work, because not one person can control their own feelings, but you can channel them. You learn how to channel them. And so when we open our eyes, we're going to take a deep breath and let's just see how much anger we can give each other. We're not mad at each other. We're all mad about the same thing. Let's take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3. All these damn injustices of the world. Oh, I hate it. Yes, gestures. Yes, maybe just word things out that just, sit in this anger. Just, oh my God. Take a deep breath and let that go. 1, 2, 3. We're going to open our eyes and joy. And if you're totally okay with it, unmute, because I like to hear laughter, and I would love to hear your voices in the laughter. You don't have to, no pressure, but yes. Yes. Close our eyes one more time. We're going to take a deep breath and let it all go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And Jennifer, I guess I'll kick it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Rich. Thank you so much for sharing your lived experiences and your incredible story. I think just as I listened to you share, along with what Mimi was sharing earlier about her journey, it seems like, and we've talked about this before, the three of us, that you both, have the choice now to remove yourself from these intense environments. However, you still choose to go back to these places and spaces, which really shows your commitment to the work and the people and the passion. So really kudos to you, Rich. Thank you so much for sharing your story and the work that you do. And thank you, Mimi, so much for sharing your journey and all that you are both doing too. And I'm just getting goosebumps. And thank you all for listening and participating. So we're going to quickly transition into a brief discussion and Q&A as a third portion of our webinar here today. So I would like to ask Mimi and Rich a question. And in the meantime, if anyone has any questions for Mimi or Rich, please feel free to drop it in the chat, and then we'll be sure to get those addressed. So Mimi and Rich, the first question is, in addition to what you both shared today in your personal and professional experiences with theater and storytelling and drama, what else can attendees learn more or experience how theater and storytelling can support their own health and well-being?
So you're asking for the attendees themselves, not the clients that they or whoever that they
right,
serve.
asking the both of you what you would share with the audience, how they can help use storytelling and their theater for their own well-being.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's such a myriad. First of all, just as I had said about theater, you know, we are the instruments that are. There's no theater without our bodies. There's no theater without our minds in places that are healthy enough, right? Gone is the idea that to be the poet, you know, the poet, the actor, whatever artistry that you pursue, that you have to suffer in order to do it, right? That is, I think it's always been a myth. Those people expired quickly and often so dramatically, it just wasn't a pretty picture. So we need to keep ourselves healthy because this is it. This is the whole thing. And that is what I think Richard shared even in your story, Richard. What I took away was that health you became more healthy, right? Through theater. So it's not flipped the other way around, right? Like I'm going to be consumed by it. I'm going to suffer and then I'm going to die, right? I need to be that person to have stories. So I think for me, the idea of grabbing any opportunity you have and they're out there or creating them yourselves. I remember I was just thinking of this holidays, and I'll try to get to the point here, where I was invited when I was a newcomer to this town, and there were a group of actors, some who were working and some who were, you know, just beginning, who invited me to come to read A Christmas Carol. We all took on parts, and this was a ritual that they did. And I was so honored to be in this room with these people who we were crammed into a living room, and we just read all the parts. And that was just so. Not only was it a community building thing, but it was also story time. And I also think if you have children, either that you teach or that you have in your home, taking the opportunity to share story, to do the parts that you read, to bring that joy, the smile, the giggles. And it also teaches your children, whether you are a teacher or you have your children, you know, in the home, it teaches them so much about, yeah, joy, um, listening, receiving, all of the parts of storytelling that are, you know, critical to a society, actually. We're always storytelling. You meet someone at the grocery store, I'm like, oh my God, did you hear about so and so? Well, this is what happened. And we're in the midst of story, you know, so being conscious of that, but the opportunities we have to be creative, even in the kitchen, daily, even at the bedside of your child. I just think all of that feeds your health.
Mhm. For the population inside, um, the culture on the yard, like the stuff that happens in the class between the group, it comes out to the yard. And so it changes the violence on the yard. Relationships are being built. It's a true ensemble building uh tool within the class with different races that normally wouldn't even be talking in the yard, let alone have any kind of relationship. And then I would say the healing part of it all. So we did a play, 13 of us formerly incarcerated that have come home, and we did a play at the theater in Culver City at the Actors Gang Theater. And during rehearsals, I had a couple of the cast say, Rich, this this is what I should have been feeling when it happened. Playing out their lived experience, because we weren't acting, we were just reliving what we had just experienced in prison. And as we were rehearsing, the healing was happening for us, playing out our lives, because we were able to connect it with the emotion, if that makes sense. So it was so therapeutic. What we don't preach that we're I mean, it was so much therapy happening on stage for all of us, that the healing finally was coming to a closure because of the theater.
Yeah.
So if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, thank you, Rich. Thank you, Mimi. And it sounds like for, all of us, I saw someone mention in the chat too about it's okay to tap into our inner child, or, if that wasn't a big experience, pretend that, you are a child again, or in another form too, and how play is really important. And through imaginative play and storytelling, even as adults, it can really help us in a lot of aspects of our health and healing. So thank you both for sharing that. And I also did tag both of you in some chats that were more specific questions in the chat box if you wanted to address those. And then
Yeah, I did see one, Jennifer,
you can go ahead
about
and
how.
yeah, you can go ahead and type that in the chat for that person. And I'm going to transition over to NeFesha to see if there's any other questions that are more on the larger scale for folks to listen to. And then we can also see if we can circle back on the other questions too.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you both for bringing all of the fullness of your work and who you are to this session. Let's see. I would say to one of the questions that others might have, and we can get to some of the other ones if we need to email the answers to some of them, then we can. But do you need a therapy license to lead a drama therapy group? And that might be for either of you to answer that one.
Well, I'm a registered drama therapist, so most likely I'll answer that question. No, you don't. You can use theater arts in any, all the no one's stopping you from that. And also, being a registered drama therapist is not a license. What has to be done, and we're working on it, it's only taken us 46 years, but we don't have licenses as drama therapists that are registered either here or in England or anywhere else. But what happens is that we end up getting our clinical licenses as marriage and family therapists, psychologists, social workers, and LPCCs, and wherever you live in the country in the United States, it depends what license you need to practice there. In New York and New Jersey, it's the LCAT, the Licensed Creative Arts Therapist. That does not work here in California, so it gets a little complicated. But if you want to be a licensed therapist and go to school, and I meant to show you that on my slide, you can go to school where you're doing both in tandem, or you can go ahead and study with someone like me, who's a board certified trainer, who while you're at school, or if you already have your degree in a license, like you're a social worker or an MFT, you can take the courses that you need. And many of the courses you already took will apply, like all the psych courses, right? There's all this, you have to take psych courses, and then the drama therapy courses that you can take in addition. So I can give you more information about that if you contact me. There's two ways to do it. One is within a school system, university system. The other is independent. It's called, it's alternative training. And so you have options as to if you want to become a registered drama therapist. But then no one in the world is stopping you from using theater in any practice that you have. So you can do that. Just make certain you don't claim that you're a drama therapist. I think that's a little unethical, because we do have specific training and ethics and rules and community stipulations that are around that title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and go ahead, Rich. Maybe in your response, you can also address the need for the actors gang that are looking for folks too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, same here. No license needed or, or required. For me, it was, lived experience, and what that meant, as to what I learned in doing the theater, doing arts inside. So, but I mean, those credentials will help, obviously. There are trainings at the theater that y'all can sign up for. Just reach out to the actorsgang.com theater company. Yeah, I was thinking of the prison project, but it's not. So there's 8-week trainings at the theater, and then you speak that you want to get involved and, want to be, there's an education department that also we run along with the prison project. So it would start with those trainings though. So just showing up, signing up for them.
I was going to add, your program is renowned. The one in Marin County, Shakespeare Company, there's somebody here from there that's renowned. Usual Suspects in Los Angeles, renowned, been around for a long time. All of those programs and more, are, and I think there's something through Cal State LA that I know a colleague of mine who's a drama therapist is involved in. Um, training, because you're going into spaces, and so we have to be trained to know what the heck we're doing when we go into spaces and do
Yeah, I
it.
saw the Red Ladder in the
Yeah,
chat. Red Ladder also, sometimes we run into those folks inside
right.
doing great work. Yeah.
Yes, and learn more about the Actors Gang. They have a lot more different programming too, in addition to the prison project. NeFesha, any other last burning questions that may pertain to the whole audience that we can address here in the last few moments? And thank you all for staying on a little longer with us.
I want to say one thing though, that when you go into acute settings and when you're working with people who you want to be trauma informed, but really importantly, what's really important is that you take care of yourself when you're going into these spaces, that you are mindful about what you can and cannot do, what your limitations are, what triggers you. There are environments that are just not going to be for you in this time, and that you need to take care. Nobody's forcing you to be a do-gooder. You need to take care of yourself. And sometimes being in those environments helps you to take care of yourself because you didn't know, like the scribble exercise, that you were feeling this anxiety, that maybe something of your own trauma is being surfaced, right? Because you're in an environment that your body remembers. And so that's most important. And maybe that's the greatest gift in working with folks, is that, you get to tend to yourself.
Thank you for that. And Jennifer, I think we're good on questions. I know we're over on time, so I'd like to respect everyone's time as well. Um, but if you have additional questions, you can always reach out to us or the panelist.
Yes, and I would invite Mimi and Rich, feel free to drop in your email for folks to reach out to you. It will also be shared in a follow-up email along with the recording link. So again, let's give it up for Rich and Dr. Mimi Savage, spending some time with us here today, sharing their stories and insight, truly valuable. And thank you for all of you for joining us. So again, this was the last webinar of our Bridging Creativity and Care webinar series. We appreciate if you can take a few moments to fill out a survey for us. It will also be included in the follow-up email, so don't feel like you have to do it now. And then I just want to give a shout out to everyone here on the screen. These are all of the panelists that have been involved in this webinar series, and all the recordings will be up. This one will hopefully be up by the end of the week. So thank you all for your involvement. We also have a free introduction guide to arts and health that includes additional resources if you would like to learn more about this field. And then the survey link should be in the chat, and I'll hand it back over to NeFesha.
All right, to everyone that's still on here or anyone that's watching the recording, thank you for watching us. Thank you for joining us today. This was an excellent time, and we want you to stay connected. This is the last of our webinar series for the fall, but we'll be back with a lot more. We have so many announcements going into the new year for you all. So please stay connected with us. You can join our newsletter, subscribe to our newsletter, which I believe is shared in the chat. We also have social media and our website. So please stay connected with us and follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter. And I believe oh yeah, and one more thing, please fill out the webinar survey. That helps us helps inform our future programming. So please fill out the survey, take a moment, it's not long, and it really is helpful and informative so we can continue to bring great programming like this to you all, to our community. In and outside of California, because I know that there's some people from other states as well here. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Take care until next time.